Normally in Digimon, where you would make a single stack where instead of you showing your opponent your singular boss monster, you throw 4 of them instead. This is the Trial of the 4 Great Dragons deck, where the whole premise of the deck is to make a single stack into Goldramon and use your unique option card to pay out other 3 level 6 dragons for free, each with their own effects to interrupt, delay, or combo off so you may swing for game. In theory, a deck that plays your level 6 for free must be good in some degree. In this case, it's not. Unlike other Megazoo decks who rely on their breeding area to reduce the cost or play out cheap level 5s to prepare for the next turn to pop off, Trials relies on their 1 option card that you can only play up to 4 and have to search for it in order to play for your dragons. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so let's dive deeper to figure out what happened to Trials of the 4 Great Dragons. We will start off with the origins of the deck in EX03, starting with the rookies. Patamon here can Digiball on top of any level 2 yellow egg for 0 cost with no inheritance. His on play is, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. Add 1 yellow card with Angel, Cherub, Throne, Authority, Seraph, or Virtue, other than 3 Great Angels in one of his traits, and 1 card with the 4 Great Dragons traits among them. Place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. Yeah, this guy sucks, as half of his effect only lets him add the Angelomon in the same archetype, and the other one being the 4 Great Dragons. You'll most likely lose most of the pieces here by this effect, as most of the archetypes don't even have 4 Great Dragons, or even half of whatever the hell this is. Second, he has a downside early game design of Searcher rookies, as he lacks an inheritance which gives him less power to the Evo line. Next here we have Agumon with the same Evo requirements, just as an inheritance that reads, your turn, once per turn, when you play in Digimon with the 4 Great Dragons in its traits, or place Trial of the 4 Great Dragons in your battle area, draw 1. Compared to Patamon, Agumon's a way better rookie, as I wouldn't argue with someone if they play as a 2-of in their deck. But not having an actual ability does hurt its place in the deck. The real downsides of these cards is that they're relics to the previous game design when it comes to early rookie Digimon. Cost 3 Searcher with no inheritance, and the rookie with a decent inheritance but with no actual effect. So, well, even the pure deck, the only card I would think of using is Agumon. That's mostly a 2-of, as Patamon's basically useless unless you run more angel-focused deck. Moving on to level 4s, we got 2 options, starting with Veedramon, who can evolve for 2 on any yellow 3 with and when Digivolving. Reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. Add 1 yellow card with Dramon in its name, and 1 card with 4 Great Dragons in its traits among them to your hand. Place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. And the inheritance. Your turn, once per turn, when you play a Digimon with 4 Great Dragons trait, one of those Digimon game for the turn, Rush. So as a searcher, this is a bigger step up from Patamon, as Veedramon basically covers all the important cards in the archetype, as him, Arrow Veedramon, and the 4 Great Dragons are all Dramons in name, and has the ability to grab any of the cards with the 4 Great Dragon trait. The important part is the ability to give Rush to your 4 Great Dragons here in order to be immediately aggressive as soon as they're played. Then we got Godamon with the same Evo criteria, but it's a cost of 4 to play with the same inheritance. On play, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 yellow card with Angel, Cherub, Throne, Authority, Seraph, or Virtue other than 3 Great Angels in one of its traits, and 1 card with the 4 Great Dragons trait. Among them to the hand, place the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. So a third searcher for the deck who is slightly better than Patamon thanks to being a level 4 with the rush ability for before. So the level 4s here are okay in the end. But the deck having 3 searchers with 2 of them basically doing the same thing leaves the deck with less ability to interact with your opponent, as it makes it too busy to set up. At least in the case they both have a good inheritance for the deck, so these cards at least have a place in the deck. Now we have the level 5s, and at least we are getting somewhere in making a play. Arrow Veedramon can evolve from any yellow 4, cost 3, and has a when Digivolving effect. If you don't have Trials of 4 Great Dragons in play, you may place 1 Trials of 4 Great Dragons from your hand in your battle area. Once per turn, while you have a Digimon with 4 Great Dragons in trait in play, or Trials of the 4 Great Dragons in the battle area, this Digimon gains Blocker. And the inheritance, opponent's turn, all your Digimon with the 4 Great Dragons in their traits gain Blocker. Finally, a proper way to play the main option card, and it'd be a blocker or give with 4 Great Dragons blocker. I'll explain more about this one once we reach the option card in a bit, but for now, I'm just glad we got something going on here. Angelmon has the same Evo criteria with the when Digivolving effect. If you don't have a Trials of 4 Great Dragons in play, you may place 1 Trials of 4 Great Dragons from your hand in your battle area. Your turn, once per turn, when you play a dragon with the 4 Great Dragons in this trait, or place a Trials of 4 Great Dragons in your battle area, one of your opponent's Digimon gets -3 KDP. And Inheritance, your turn once per turn. When you play a Digimon with 4 Great Dragons in its traits or place a Trial of 4 Great Dragons in your battle area, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3k DP for the turn. Okay, another way to play the Trials of 4 Great Dragons, and a bit of removal, or at least a way to weaken enemy Digimon so far. So good, I guess. In order to make sense of these cards I mentioned up till now, I'll explain the heart and soul of the deck ahead of time before I even touch the other option cards. Here is Trials of the 4 Great Dragons. Main, draw 1, then place this card in your battle area. Main, delay. Play 1 Digimon with the 4 Great Dragon traits from your hand without playing the costs. The Digimon played by this effect can't Digivolve till level 7, and at the end of the opponent's turn, delete that Digimon. Okay, so the hype kinda sucks for this card. Its main effect just sucks, as paying 8 memory for a draw 1 is just lame. Hell, EX-02 has Fireball, which is just a pot of grief for just 2 memory. The only thing keeping this card relevant in its deck is the fact that its delay effect lets you play a 4 Great Dragon for free, where you can activate the level 5's other effects to start popping off. And the fact the level 5's can place this card for free helps. However, you don't get the draw 1 since you're placing this card in the battle area through this effect, not playing. So what's the point of this effect? The end of the turn, unalive yourself is for the dragons don't stay too long, but they each have an on-deletion effect to make up for it. Finally, we can move on to the megas that kinda make up for this damn option card. I'm going to do this in order for each dragon since some of them have received new support on the works for this deck. Also, all the EX-03 variants of Megidramon, Azulomon, and Magnadramon have the same on deletion, so moving on with that one. Starting with EX-03 Megidramon with, on play, delete one of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon. If this card was played by Trials of 4 Great Dragons effect, add 1 to the maximum level of the Digimon you can delete with this effect. On deletion, if you don't have Trials of 4 Great Dragons in play, you may place 1 Trials of 4 Great Dragons from your hand, battle area. For when this card came out, I would say he was the best form of removal for the deck. Now, he's just played because he's the only Megidramon that works with the deck, as the other variants are made for Galamon deck or its own deck. Able to delete a level 6 if played by the option card isn't terrible though, so it's fine in the end. And on deletion goes for the other 2, but it's probably the best part of these guys as they can essentially cycle through each of the 3 to pressure your opponents. Next, we got Azulongmon, starting with the EX-03 variant. On play, draw 2. Then, if this card was played by Trials of 4 Great Dragons effect, gain 2 memory. So a Living Pot of Greed and Combo Extender is probably, if not the best of the 3 dragons. It's a shame that that's all this guy does, but unlike Megidramon, he does have another card that can help the deck. EX-05 Azulongmon, who reads, on play when Digivolving, return one of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon to the hand. Then, unsuspend one of your Digimon with a Deva, 4 Great Dragons, or 4 Sovereign traits. On deletion, delete one of your opponent's highest level Digimon. This one is okay, and at least a viable option for the deck. Would you use this with the option card? No. The on deletion works with it, but with an overflow of 4 and the fact there are a lot of Digimon protection these days, is not really worth playing for free unless you're going for game, as the unsuspending helps and the bouncing a potential ace target helps too. It's really the fact that this card is an ace that holds it back, but at least it can potentially work with the deck, and because of the ace, you actually can use this on your own level 5s. Now for Magnadramon, who got the most variants to work with, starting with EX-03 Magnadramon. On play, all your opponent's Digimon gain Secure Attack -1 until the end of your opponent's turn. If this card was played by Trials of 4 Great Dragons effect, all your opponent's Digimon gain Secure Attack -2 until the end of your opponent's turn. I remember this card being a pain, and as a decent stall card, a Secure Attack -2 is no joke to deal with. However, these days, most decks prefer to either trash security or become immune to effects whenever they attack, so effects like this will only work for lower tier decks. But running one off is not a bad choice, and could help win a game. Next is BT-15 Magnadramon. On play when Digivolving, by trashing the top card of your security, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 9k DP until the end of their turn. All turns, once per turn, when a card is removed from your security stack, if you have 3 or fewer cards, you may place 1 yellow card from your hand at the top or bottom of your security stack. This is actually a good card, as it's probably the most flexible dragon to use. It's cheap to Evo, its on-play is the same as its Evo ability, and it's a strong form of removal, along with its all-turns of recovering. As well, the all-turns can chain off of its own ability along with the BT-15 line that came with it. However, the 4 Great Dragons don't have a proper way of propping the all-turns consistently to really use it without the aid of the BT-15 line, and some of the other support might stray out of the way for the core of the deck. Still, definitely good pick in terms of aggression and recovery. Finally, we got the promo Magnadramon for the Nature Spirits deck. It has blocker and Evo 3 from any level 5 red, yellow, or Nature Spirits Digimon, and a DNA from one level 5 or yellow and one level 5 green or black. On play, on deletion, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 5k DP for the turn. Then delete one of their Digimon with a 5k DP or less. So I understand that this card was made for both decks in mind, but it's kind of weird in this weird area that makes it weird for both decks. It's nice that it's a blocker with an easy ability prop, especially with the Trials of Four Great Dragons, but it's kind of slow and these days it might not live long enough to activate its ability a second time. Still, it's not a bad option and I like the art, so it's worth a try. Finally, we can talk about the main boss card we can make out of the stack for is Goldramon. Unlike the others, you want to evo into him as your main win condition. At least the EXO3 variant, the BT14 one's a bit different. EXO3 Goldramon can evo on top of any level 5 yellow or 3 cost and reads, when digivolving, you may return one card with a 4 Great Dragon trait from your trash to your hand, as well as Godflame. When attacking, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 6k for the turn. Then by returning one Magnadramon, one Azulongmon, when one Mikidramon from your trash to the bottom of your deck in any order, trash the top 2 cards of your opponent's security stack. Even for the time it was released, I think this card isn't that bad. The ability to grab any 4 Great Dragon card or God Blow is pretty good and helps establish a chain reaction to start something megas to the field. The minus 6k is pretty good, especially when comboing with Godflame. The final ability to trash the top 2 security is also pretty good, but a bit difficult to pull off as you need one of each of the other 3 dragons to pull it off. At least we know the ultimate game plan for this deck, and is it worth trying? Maybe. There is BT14 Goldramon, who is an evo of 4 on any yellow or red level 5. When digivolving and on play, play one Amon Crimson Flame, which has 6k DP and Rush token, and one Umon Blue Thunder, which has also 6k DP and Blocker token. All turns when the Digimon will digivolve or leave the battle area, delete all your tokens. If this effect deletes, recover +1. So, this one always confused me when it was made as it feels kind of random. Summoning 2 tokens isn't that bad, especially with one of them having Rush and the other being a blocker. Plus, since the effect is an on-play at the same time, it's a new target for trials. So an OTK strategy is viable here, or at least some sort of beatdown strategy. The alter is also understandable, but can backfire. If you have multiple versions of this Goldramon out, and one of them evos or dies, the alters will destroy all your Amon and Umon tokens, not just the one that individual card summoned, and you will only get 1 recover. But this effect doesn't really help elevate the current strategy aside from aggression that the other Goldramon does, and is more of just a new option for trials to play. Finally, as the last of the Digimon, we got Goldramon X. Evo for 5 on any red or yellow level 5, or for 2 on top of Goldramon. Raid, when digivolving, when attacking, you may use one Godflame or one option card with a 4 Great Dragon trait from your hand without paying the cost. All turns, this Digimon gains all the effects of Goldramon in this Digimon Digivolution cards. I remember when this card came out, and even though I knew it wasn't good enough to make trials great, I did believe it'll be a great addition to the deck. But more than likely, it's most of the time just the brick or not the right card for the moment. It being a cost of 5 for Evo really hurts to go into, especially for a level 6, even though I would argue it's when digivolving when attacking that is the best part of its ability, as it doesn't require either Goldramon or X antibody work, and it's not once per turn. Playing the option card for free saves a lot of time, but due to the lack of protection, it usually dies the next turn in Evos. Even if you have Goldramon for the 2 cost, it still feels like you're not making enough impact to damage your opponent's field or really progress the game. The alter is also nice, as you keep it on a EXO3 Goldramon, you at least still have its when attacking effects on top of its when digivolving effects to recycle. As for the BT14 variant, it works well, but it feels like it was made specifically for the EXO3 version. This card just feels too expensive to make, usually with a little payoff along with trying to find space to fit this guy in. With that concludes all of our Digimon, but we still got 2 more cards in the form of the option cards. One of them is Godflame, a cost 5 yellow option card that reads, main, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 6k for return. Then you may return 1 card with a 4 Great Dragon trait from your trash to your hand. So I generally do like this card, as it's not that expensive to play, seeing you're inflicting -6k and grabbing a piece back, whether it's one of the dragons or option cards. And thanks to Goldramon X, it's way easier to play this card and possibly make some type of loop with their effects. Sadly, most of the time this card might get cut out or at least play as a single copy due to spacing. The last card goes to Dragon's Breath. The cost of 4 option card that reads, Main, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. Add 1 4-grade Dragon's Trait card or 1 yellow card among them to the hand. Return the rest of the bottom of the deck, then place this card in the battle area. Delay. Place 1 Trials of 4-grade Dragons from your hand in the battle area, or you may trash 1 4-grade Dragon's Trait card in your hand. If you did either, one of your opponent's Digimon gets -7k for the turn. Security. One of your opponent's Digimon gets -7k for the turn, then place this card in the battle area. And this is why Godflame usually gets cut out of the deck. A generic yellow card searcher with the archetype is pretty nice and was probably made like this because of the inconsistent searchers of the deck. Though it does suck you can only grab 1 card with it, but I think it's fine just so you can grab any yellow card they reveal. If it wasn't for that, I would think this card would be horrendous. As for the delay effect, they are such a big help on both sending up Trials and Goldramon to accelerate for the game, plus that -7k with either effect is a plus in my book. And that concludes all the main cards of the archetype, and Jesus, that was a lot. Unfortunately, this deck has never seen real competitive play throughout its life, mostly due to its inconsistencies, too many megas, and the sole reliance towards a single card. If Trials was a Digi-Egg, then maybe it would have had a chance. But unfortunately, it was made more of in this experimental era of Digimon, where the designs of the decks were trying to do more than just make a single stack in the breeding area. And seeing that the deck's weakness is also the Rookie Patrol that prevents playing by effects, it's very difficult for Trials to have any motion throughout the game without losing. But let's try anyway! If Numemon of all Digimon can have a deck, why not a group of Heavenly Dragons? Here are the lists I made for this deck. There's a pure version, a yellow vaccine build, a Randomon engine, and an extra one that prioritizes Goldramon X with the Puppet engine as the main core. Now that we have decks built, how well do they play? Not great at all. The pure version being the worst one, as it still holds all the problems I mentioned beforehand, so no on this one at all. I didn't even bother trying to test it. The yellow vaccine build is great on EVO for free, but only on the vaccine trait Digimon. And the deck doesn't recover often, so it's difficult to get the exact Digimon you want to EVO into. Searching is still a little whack here, but at least Gatomon has a couple more targets now, and Kudamon can grab 90% of the deck, so that's good at least. Plus, this gives an element of recovery a bit more, like usual yellow decks do, so that's good. The Randomon build focuses on using the Sukuyamon engine to EVO straight into Goldramon for at least 3 memory or even less through the Tailmon Aces ability and with the use of the yellow scrambles. Maybe even some plugins if you want to add those in. That way you can easily go into either Goldramons by playing Yellow Scramble for free with potential to gain memory and draws through Rika and evolution sources. The issue here is that the Rika line could potentially lose resources as they weren't made for Trials and potentially lose the game. But I figured the reward is worth the risk of losing some pieces. Turns out it wasn't. Finally, we got the wacky build, the 4th list, and it's not really a Trials deck, it's more of a Goldramon X deck. Using the Puppet line, we have a Goldramon X deck that focuses only on Goldramon BT14 and the additions that the tokens that the Shushumon can make or use Orisa to play more puppets. The main reason is to give actual protection through the level 5s of the deck. Once the stack is made, we go to BT14 to spawn the tokens for immediate aggression, and thanks to Orisa, we can make the blocker token also have Rush. All this so for a potential OTK, we go further with Goldramon X to respawn 2 new tokens and go for game. We even have Trials here to make Goldramon or Zulongmon for more token aggression or to extend the play. Goldramon not being part of the archetype hurts, but at least we can now keep a body to put the pressure on your board. After a while testing, yeah, these lists can't fix this Pantheon. The core problem is that the deck is lack of aggression without setup, no proper removal, inconsistent searching, and just too old support. Trials requires a lot of setup before getting to Goldramon, and the middle of the time, it's too late by the time they get their pieces. Usually in the form of trying to place the option card without paying its 8 costs. But aside from the low 5s, Dragon's Breath or Goldramon X, there isn't a way of playing this card for free. Dragon's Breath is probably your best way to cheat this card out early, but the cost 4 can be a burden in late game, and the delay effect is just takes too long to use. And in the end, what dragons you play depend on the state of the board and which ones you have, because a good chunk of your time you might not have the right dragon, which leads up to the inconsistencies that as even in their own deck they remain unable to grab the right pieces they need at the moment, and it's hard to digivolve on top of Beedramon. Beedramon and Dragon's Breath remain the best of their searchers, but with only one of them being a level 4, it's difficult to pull out without aid of a training boost. The other two just don't really work, since it also grabs the Angel archetype cards, with the majority of the deck remains to be Dramon based, with the exception of the Yellow Vaccine build. Even then, this inconsistency also leads to other hiccups like having one wrong dragons at the wrong time, most notably Beedramon, as he cannot Evo on top of any of the low 5s. At least we have the Ace Azulamon that can, making him a dead card unless you have Trials out. If only they give us a Beedramon for this deck too. I have no problem with the current Beedramons made for their decks, but man, Trials needs a new one too. Another issue is the lack of proper removal outside the Megas. This leaves enough time for the opponent to take control of the board as soon as possible, leaving Trials little time to counter without having to set up it needs to play its Megas. Godflame and Dragonflare are good for smaller bodies, but usually need another card to combo with it, or cost too much to pay without passing a turn or using Goldramon X. The only time the lower line has removal is the form of the outside help, which leads to the inconveniences of searching the wrong cards. And finally, these cards are just too old and just need proper support, man. But so far, I don't see potential of that happening. The other 3 dragons have gotten more support and are more likely to get even further support with their own decks. But Goldramon seems to be stuck as the Trials boss and is too reliant on the other 3. Along with these fossils that are just too clunky as mentioned, they are easy to whip with the level 5s. Being only able to play Trials is just too risky and not enough reward for, with only Beedramon being the most consistent of the searchers. But being a level 4 searcher makes it less likely to activate, as you prefer to Evo in the back while setting up. So what can be done to fix this deck? To be honest, I think Trials just needs a complete redo with a new wave of support to keep it up with the modern game. Dragon's Breath and Goldramon X is a good start, but the rest of the line just needs to catch up with a new proper level 3 searcher and a secondary that might be able to Evo for cheaper. The biggest change should be the entire archetype should be finalized for the entire deck, or at least a rule trait for the rest of the line to agree on. That way searching isn't so niche and unnecessary. Also, I think a new version of Trials should be made that can still count as the original, but have a similar or at least a way better ability to speed things up. Another proper thing, Digi-Egg, as I have not mentioned that this deck lacks a Digi-Egg. Because of that, the only eggs I've been using are the ones that are made for said engine or a generic yellow egg that might work with the deck. For now, all I can say is we wait and possibly the Yellow Vaccine version of my list performs the best, so maybe enough games with that could potentially aspire more support, because yeah, the Vaccine one had the best support for it, and that's mostly because a good chunk of the deck turned out to be Yellow Vaccine. Enough of that though, what do y'all think of the Trials of 4 Great Dragons deck? Do you think it has a chance to come back, and what changes that the deck could need to be viable in the current modern game? Until then, I'll see y'all next time.